All right, if you went to that bit.ly, it should have taken you to this document here. When we've had trainings in the past, we've had similar documents created here. All the things that we'll be covering today, the direct link to that information in the Google Help Forms are right here. So all you'd have to do is basically just click on that, and it'll take you to that particular skill and how to do it. All right? So this will be a good reference for you after the training. You can keep coming back to this if you like. All right, once here, I do want you to go ahead and click on the Google Sheets practice file. You'll see the little link. It's in the right-hand column there. It has a little chain link around it. When you click on that, it should force you to make a copy of the spreadsheet that I've set up for today. Let me know if you have any trouble accessing that. A lot of stuff we're going to be covering. All right, now I'll go ahead and pull that up here. All right, so if you'll notice down at the very bottom of this spreadsheet, hopefully you have it pulled up now, we have several different tabs, all right, and these move from left to right in sequential order. So each of these tabs are going to contain content relevant to the skill that I show you. Okay, so for this first tab, you can see we have it labeled Formatting Sheets. We have some content and some examples of things you can do within a spreadsheet. All right, now if you see on that particular sheet anywhere a little yellow corner, like in this case it happens to be in K1 right there, that's going to tell you, it might give you some notes or instructions, all right? So be looking for that if you're hearing me and get a little lost. Look for the little comment that I added in there, okay? All right, so with this first tab, Formatting Sheets, it's not difficult. The important thing to note is to make sure that you have selected or you're inside the cell that you want to change. All right, so in the case of cell A1, you would obviously click inside there, and then once inside the cell, you're able to go up to your toolbar and change it any number of ways, whether that's filling it in with a solid color, placing a border around it, or changing the direction of the text that is inside there. This is a fairly new feature, being able to change the text direction. And it could come in handy depending on the type of spreadsheet you've created. To do this, to put it on an angle or to rotate the text, again, you're just going to type some text in there, select the cell, and then we can do it actually a couple ways. I normally right-click, and then you're going to look for the, where is it? Actually, that's a different one. We'll see it under Format. I'm sorry. Text rotation right there. All right, and you can see the options. If it's set to none, it will display regularly. But you can tilt it up, tilt it down. Set one of these angles there for you. The angle of the rotation really depends on your preference for how it appears, you know. If you'll note, here on the left, you can see that we've highlighted the cell and we've put a little border around it. That can be achieved, again, by selecting the cell and then going up to your borders option right here on your toolbar. You can choose to have all the borders shaded with a particular color, and in addition to that, you have different border styles right here as well. You know, so it just helps you differentiate the content on any given spreadsheet, formatting it differently. All right. Adjusting the column width or row width is as easy as just putting your cursor in between the rows or columns and dragging. Okay. You can set specific values for row height as well as width by right-clicking. In this case, we're right-clicking on the name of the row, and then you can choose resize row. And then from here, you can give it a specific height or width, or you can have it just fit to the data that's inside it. All right? And you can actually apply that to multiple rows at the same time. So if I wanted row 1 through row 7 to have the same height, I would right-click and I would choose resize the rows. And let's say I want them all to be size 30. See what that did? Oh, but it ended up cutting off my words up here. So I'll quickly undo that. Okay, any questions there? All right. Next cell, next tab over, moving columns and cells. And the important thing here is to make sure you're grabbing what it is you want to move. So if I take my cursor, and let me zoom in a little bit so it's a little easier to see. You'll see the zoom controls on your toolbar. Right now mine's set at 100%. I'll set it to 200 so we can see this a little easier. All right, if I put my cursor right there on the A, notice what's going to happen. It's going to turn into a hand. That means, all right, it's ready to be grabbed. So at this point, if I want to move this to the right of B, I just click, and it will drag the entire thing over, just like so. See if you can do that on yours, and maybe drag it back. Okay, see how that's done? Just click and drag. You can drag it to any one of these columns. I think the biggest challenge of working with Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel or any other program where you're working with data like this is just getting it to do what you want to do, moving the stuff. All right, and little tips like this, just dragging, you'd be surprised how many people struggle, just understanding how to do something as simple as this. All right, freezing or merging rows. So let's click on that next tab there. Okay. Does anybody out there know what the point of freezing a row would be? Have you all heard of that before?
You've got a lot of data that you're scrolling through. If you've got like a title thing at the top.
That's right. You can still see the title, right? And so I do have a lot of information here. And if I scroll down, you'll notice that, I lost the title up there at the top, okay, as I scroll down. We can quickly fix that, all right? And let's look at our notes. Let's see what it says. It says View, Freeze. Okay, so I'll click on View, Freeze. I want to freeze the first row. Okay, so now that's frozen. And if I drag down, you see that's going to stay right up there at the top for me. All right, that's also useful whenever you go to print a spreadsheet. It will actually look for frozen places in the spreadsheet, and then if you have multiple pages, it'll print that up at the top as well. Okay, and you can actually, it's not limited to just the first row there. If you go up to View and Freeze, you can say up to a certain row. So maybe if I wanted up to row 7 frozen, I would click inside row 7 and then View, Freeze, and up to row 7. If I click that, then you can see that everything below it will move. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. All right. Also, on this particular tab, although I don't have really data that would work well with this, I failed to put that in there. But you have the ability to merge cells together. The way you're going to do that is by clicking on one, then clicking on the other, and then going to your Format menu, and then choosing Merge Cells. Okay? There might be cases where, that comes in handy, where you're needing to do that. All right? Okay, protect and hide sheets. This is a great feature, but for me it falls a little short, all right, because it doesn't prevent. What would be nice is if you could create a spreadsheet without the addition of any add-ons that would allow you to share a document with people in our organization, but restrict certain portions from being able to be seen. Now, what I'm going to show you here is going to allow you to basically lock certain parts of your spreadsheet so somebody can't mess it up, right? But they're still going to be able to see it, okay? Here's how we do this, all right? And if you can find your notes there, I should have it there. Actually, I put it in K. So you're going to select the data, right-click, and then protect the range, all right? So let's see how this is done. Let's say I don't want these grades messed with, so I'm going to select the data, okay? And there's more than one way to do these things. Oftentimes you'll see a control up there in the toolbar as well as these menus up here, but I'm just right-clicking or control-click. You can right-click, and then you're going to look for Protect Range. When you choose that, you can give this particular protection a name, all right? I'll say, don't mess with my grades. Okay, that's the name of this, quote, rule, all right? And then you set the permissions, all right? You can restrict who can actually edit this range. And this works just like sharing does, okay? So you type in the person who you absolutely do not want to mess with this range of data. You enter it there and then click Done. And then they'll be able to see it, but they can't actually click inside it or do anything with it, okay? Can you see at all where that might come in useful or handy? Possibly. It would be nice, though, to be able to prevent them from seeing it. Yeah. All right. All right. Moving on to the Format Numbers tab. All right, you can see we have 4 different columns of data here. They're each formatted differently. The way you format numbers inside of a cell is by first, of course, selecting those. And say, for example, I want to round these up to the nearest dollar. All right, you're going to look on your toolbar up here. And first off, if you want to format it, if it wasn't formatted as currency, you could do that there. All right, you can see some of these other controls. There's more formats there. And I believe under currency, we have currency rounded. All right, so if I chose that and applied it to these selected cells, you'll notice it'll get rid of those extra zeros. Okay? I'll do that one more time. You select the cells. In this case, we'll find currency rounded there. Okay? I believe you can also find that underneath. No, yeah, under Format, yeah. There's Number, all kinds of options here. Okay, there's an accounting style. There we can apply. See that? Dates, you'll find some options there. Let me select the first 10. Go to Format, Number, and there are some different formats there. There's date, there's some more formats, more date and time formats. Let's see all these. Okay, see how we did that? All right. Continuing. Add an image to a spreadsheet. All right, the old way you would add images to a Google Sheet was to insert image, and basically the image would float over top of everything. It was kind of clunky. If you ask me, there's a new method that will actually take the image and place it inside of a cell. Now what we have here, this is my record. You know, we got that new digital scores table in the competition gym, and so we had ads that go through it. And so I've gotten with Josh Stevens, and we developed some artwork for it, and so I wanted to keep a record of what we have, and this is how I did it in Google Sheets. So I have the name of the sponsor here, and then I dropped in the artwork. The way we did that was by clicking Insert, Image, and I chose the Image in Cell option right there. And if I go to, yeah, here it is. This is the original file. This is the complete version here. I also have, just to the right of that, a list of choices that I can pick from. I'll show you how to do this as well, that I can just click on and say, all right, how long this is supposed to last. All right, this is actually an example of data validation that we'll get to here in just a second. Okay? All right. And if you wanted to add these images there, I've got a link to my drive where you could actually download them to your computer there, or add them to your drive, and then re-upload them if you wanted to practice. Okay, that link is right here in H2. Okay? How are we doing? Okay. All right, next one, Google Sheets function list. All right, so if you want to know where are all these functions that I can use with Google Sheets, they're all in the Help menu. All right, so all you have to do is click on the Help menu here and choose, down at the bottom, Function List. And when you click that, it's going to open up a new tab, and there's a few functions listed there that you could maybe use. Just a few. I mean, that's crazy. So that is to say, Google Sheets can do a lot, okay? A lot of things you can do with it. All right. Okay, adding formulas and functions. There's a few that I've added on this particular sheet, or tab rather. So let me zoom in a little bit. You can see we have 3 columns of data, and down in cells A22, B22, and C22, I have the 3 different functions applied here. All right, and what we can do is click in one of the cells, and up in the function area you can actually see what that function is. All right, this is the count function right here, and it's going to add up everything from C1 to C21. All right, that colon is going to mean everything in between. So that number and everything in between, it'll take that. All right, this particular formula, the max, is going to show me the highest value in this given range of data. So of all the numbers here, 97 was the highest. That's what max will do. All right, and then the minimum, that's displayed in cell A22. That happens to be number 2, and you can see that there. You can quickly apply these from your, probably the quickest way is going to be from your toolbar. So if I happen to get rid of, let me show you how this works if you've not done this before. If I get rid of this particular formula, I want to count all these. The way I do it is I would first click inside this cell, then on my toolbar I'm going to look for the functions option here, and there's count. All right, then it'll prompt me to go ahead and select the range of the data, so I'll just left click and drag all the way up till I have everything selected. All right, and then when I strike the enter key, it'll put it there for me. All right, and as you can see, if any of these values change, so too will my count down there. All right. Let's move on to the next tab. Okay, and these are going to be used on a pretty regular basis, I think. The average and the sum functions, you'll also find those over there underneath the functions. So you do it exactly the same way. You just click inside the cell where you want it to go, then click on your functions over here. In this case, you're going to look for sum. It's right up there at the top. Okay, bless you. All right, same thing with average. Okay. All right. The next one, raise your hand if you've used this next one before, pivot tables. Emily has, of course. Okay, so if you were going to describe pivot tables, Emily, how would you describe a pivot table? What essentially is it?
It's a table that can change as your data changes.
Okay.
That's what most pivot tables do, but it can show like multiple dimensions.
Okay. So it's like, what is all this data over here really telling me, right? Yeah, and so that's a good way to think of it, is to have a spreadsheet that's got lots and lots of stuff in it, and then you're looking at it, okay, practically speaking, what's the interpretation here? How do I make sense of this? All right, well, you can create a pivot table that basically interprets the data for you in a way that's easy to understand. Now, if you look just to the right of this tab, it says Pivot Table Results. Just click in that, and you can see the results of creating a pivot table. All right, in this case, what I wanted to do was to get a count of how many class level males and females majored in a certain thing. All right, and so by applying this pivot table, I was able to do just that. So I can easily see that for physics, I have a total of 2 freshman girls who majored in that. All right, now let me show you how we actually put this together. So to do that, let's get back to the previous tab here. All right, and if you want to look in your instructions, we should have it. Did I not put it on this slide? Maybe I didn't. Okay, I guess not. All right, no problem. All right, so what we want to do, I believe, data, and then you're going to choose pivot table. So we can do this together. All right, so just click on the data menu up at the top and then choose pivot table. All right, now it's going to ask you, do you want to put this in a new sheet or in the existing sheet? I'm going to say a new sheet. All right, it's like another tab. All right, and it should pop up just to the right of it. All right, so we're going to add 3 rows. Okay, so over here on the right hand side, see where it says rows, I will click add, and I want, first thing will be gender, okay, and then I'll click beside rows, add again. This time it will be class level, I believe, and then I'll do it one more time beside rows, and then the major. Okay, see how we're building this? And then we have one more option down at the very bottom where it says values. All right, so I'll click values, add, and I'm just going to say gender for this one. And there it goes. And it gives me that count. Okay? Okay, you can see where this would be useful if you're working with large volumes of data. Okay? Okay. Here's a little known feature, naming a range of cells. All right, so let's click on that next tab. All right, naming a range of cells. So if you work with formulas and functions, typically you're going to apply them, and then you're going to see a series of letters and numbers referencing the cells that you're working with. Well, you can actually give a name of cells, a range of cells rather, a name. And if you click on cell D16 here, you'll see the formula that I've created. All right, equals sum ES, HS, and MS. Okay? And so how we did that was we just named B2 all the way to B13. We called that ES, and then MS and HS. All right, let me show you how this is done. All right, and you can click on the little comment there. So you select your data, and go to Data and Named Ranges. All right, so you select your data, go to Data, and then Named Ranges is what we're looking for. Here it is, Named Ranges. All right, so you can see the ones that I've created here, ES, HS, and MS. right there. And up here is where you actually give it a name. All right, click Done, and then if you're manually creating a function or formula in here, all you have to do is type in the abbreviation. Okay? Any you ever used that before? Okay, good.
Could you give it more than one name? And
Oh, the same range more than one name? I don't know. I'm not sure. You can try it, absolutely. All right. Reference data from other sheets. Okay. You'll notice if you click inside A1, that's not a value that I typed in there, the number 38. That's coming from another place in this particular spreadsheet, this file. So you can see it's coming from the tab labeled See the Sum of Average. All right. See that? So the name is going to refer to the name of the tab followed by the actual cell that particular value is coming from. So if I go to this tab, See the Sum and Average, let me scroll over here. Oh, I missed it. See the Sum and Average. I think it was A1. Yeah, there it is, right there. So let's say if I change this to 50, all right, and then I went back over. There, it's 50 there as well. All right. Now, one thing is important to note, if you have your tabs named down at the bottom and they have spaces in between the words, in order for this to work, you have to make sure that you put an apostrophe before the name, the first word, and then the last word. Otherwise, it'll come back with a error. Okay? Spent like 10 minutes trying to figure that one out because it wasn't working for me. Okay. Oh, this is a fun one. Auto creating a series or list. Okay? So go ahead and watch what will happen if you put your cursor there inside A1. Notice when you do that, you have a little handle that appears in the lower right-hand corner of that cell. If you click and drag, look at what you can do. Okay? Let me do that one more time. Basically, it's detecting that you're working with a list of months, and it assumes that you're wanting to type all of them when you click and drag that. Now, it worked a little differently with the number 1. All right, so yeah, well, I'm going to show you the workaround, okay? So you notice if you click on 1 and drag, I think it's just going to repeat the 1. Yeah, so I'm going to undo that. But if I put in a number 2 here, and then select both of them, and then drag, there it does it. Yeah. Okay. So the key there with the numbers is to select more than one cell and then drag. Okay? Okay. Sorting and filtering the data is just another way to look at it in a way that makes more sense for you. You can click there on the notes that I've made. You're going to select the data, go up to the data menu, sort, range, or filter, and you can create different filtered views of looking at it. All right? That's helpful. All right? So again, it's a matter of just selecting the data. Data, filter views. You can choose to create a new filter. All right. And basically it just changes the way you're looking at it. All right. Without affecting the original spreadsheet. All right, that's the key there. That's why this would be useful. All right, so you can share this spreadsheet with a colleague, and then you can go to filtered views. You can see it one way, and they can see it the way it was originally. Okay? That can come in pretty handy. All right. Next one, creating an in-cell drop-down list. All right? Any of you done this before? Selena has. Okay. All right, you can see here, starting in cell D2, we have some drop-down menus, and if we click that, there are some options that we can click on. All right, so let's try to remember these. Processing, back order, and received, okay, because I'm going to delete these and we're going to add them back. All right, so again, help me out remembering. Processing, back ordered, and received. So let me get rid of these. I'm going to actually clear them. Right-click, delete these cells. Okay, so I would start there in cell D2, see what our instructions say. Format, data validation. All right, so we'll do that. So click inside there, format, and where is my conditional formatting? No, I'm looking for data validation. I'm sorry, it's in the data menu. My bad. Data and then data validation. All right, so inside here where it says criteria, we're going to say a list of items. All right. Now help me out. What were the options I had? What was one of them? Say processing. Okay, so processing. Then I'm going to enter a comma. What's another one? Back ordered. And then I had one more. It was like shipped. Was that it? Received. Okay. All right, there's no spaces in between these. All right, so the comma separates it. All right, so now I'll click save. All right, so you can see it applied it to that one. Now I'm going to click and drag that little handle and apply it to the rest of those. Now you can see there's my options. And all you have to do is choose the one that it applies to. Okay? Okay. All right. Using conditional formatting. How many of you ever used conditional formatting before? Okay. Basically what that's going to do is it's going to, something is going to happen if something happens before that. So in other words, there is going to be in this case, formatting that will be applied to a specific cell based on the number that's inside there. Okay? So what we would do is we would go up to, let's look for our notes here and see what they say. There it is in K. All right, you're going to go to Format and then Conditional Formatting. All right, so if I go Format, Conditional Formatting, all right, look at our options here. So let's say, see, you can see what I already did. I shaded cell C6 red, and that's because this particular cell went over the value of 3. All right, so if I said format cells if greater than, let's see if it was greater than 2. I'm going to change the color to blue. All right, and look, apply to range, that's the key here too. You want to make sure that you select all of this here. There we go. Done. And then done. See that? So if I came in here and I said 3 there, it's going to change that as well. All right, so you basically create your rules, and when that rule is satisfied, the change will be applied to it. And then you can always come back over here and delete those rules if you want. So the value is greater than 3, it's going to shade it red. Greater than 2, it's going to shade it blue. And then if we remove those, the formatting goes away as well. Okay? All right. Next one. Splitting text, removing duplicates, and trimming white space. All right? This could come in handy. All right, so let's say we want to take this text right here and we want to split it into 2 separate columns. Watch how we do it. We're going to select the cells. All right, and I think we can go ahead and go up to the formatter data. Oh, I want to split cells. See, this is why I put the actual the comments in here, because I forget. All right, select data, split text to columns. Okay. data, split text to columns. All right, and then the separator, we're going to say that will be a space. There we go. See that? That would work exactly the same way if the separator was a comma, semicolon, or period. Okay? All right. What is the next one? That's remove duplicates. All right. So I've intentionally got some duplicates here in this list that appears in column D. All right, if I want to remove those duplicates, all right, you're going to select the data, then go to the data menu and choose remove duplicates. So let me select this. Data. And then there's remove duplicates. Okay? And it gets rid of them. These procedures here that I'm showing come in really handy, especially if you've put out a form and you've got a lot of data that's been submitted to you, because oftentimes that data isn't always clean. You need to clean it up a little bit. This will help you speed that process along. Okay? Here's another case where that would come into play, and that is removing extra white space. All right, so you can see in starting cell G1, we've got all this stuff and it's sloppy, it's messed up. We want to fix it up by removing that white space. All right, so the instructions say to select your data, go to data, and then trim white space. Watch how this is going to clean this up. So if I select this, go to data, trim white space, okay, look at that. Let me do that one more time, all right? So again, I just selected that row, that's where the data was entered in. Then I went up to data, then I'm going to look for the trim white space. So all those extra spaces that were in there, we're going to get rid of those automatically. The only other way to get your data to look like this would be to go inside the cells and manually delete all of those extra spaces. Okay? Okay. Next tab, adding and using checkboxes. Okay. Very easy to do. You just click Insert Checkbox inside the cell that you want to go. And then once it's in there, you have the option to click on it and actually apply it. We actually use this feature with the Chromebooks for Chromebook distribution. When the student comes by to sign them out, we have these checkboxes there and we just check them. Okay? All right. Perfect printing. All right. I've found that when I've been very successful in printing, it's been the result of me selecting my data first as opposed to just trying to print the whole sheet. So that would be my first tip for you all. So in this case, I would start with cell A1 and I would scroll down and get the last bit of data there so that only the stuff I want to print is selected. All right? And then I'll go to print here. All right. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm making you aware of these options if you're not familiar with them. All right, telling them what to print. You want to print the current sheet. All right, the workbook or just the cells that you've selected. In this case, this is exactly what I want to do. Just those cells. You can see it already changed it for me. All right, next I want to change the orientation. I'll go to portrait. Okay. You have some scale options here. All right. You can set your margins. You can choose to have the grid lines appear or not appear. Okay. How it's printed. And then you can also have your headers and footers. This is useful if you're turning something in to someone they want to see exactly when the document was created. All right. So in that case, you would check one of these options here, current date, current time, and it's going to put that down at the very bottom, in the footer. Okay? Remember we talked about freezing rows before? All right. So if we had frozen rows in this spreadsheet, we could check these options here, and then it would be repeated if we had more than one page. Okay? The fact that we don't have any is the reason why those are not able to be clicked on. Okay. Turn on spreadsheet notifications. So if you want to be notified the moment someone makes a change to a spreadsheet, we actually used that, Dr. Hawkins, a couple years ago. Remember when we had the discipline referrals? All right, we had you receive an email from that. You have to either be the sole owner of the spreadsheet, or you have to have edit access in order for this to be enabled. All right, so what you would do is you would just go up to the Tools menu, and you would choose Notification Rules. And under there, you can see you could be notified whenever changes are made, or in this case, if these are the results of a form, when somebody submits a form, you can have them emailed right away or a daily digest at the end of the day. Okay? Okay. This is one of the funnest ones. You might not think it's fun. I think it's kind of cool, though. Sparklines. Have you seen these before? Okay. All right. Basically, they're little mini graphs that will show you what your data looks like. All right. This is useful for tracking trends without having to create a separate graph. All right. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to do because you have to do type in the code up there, and it has to be exactly right or it's not going to display correctly. All right. But if you can see in cell A6, if you click inside there, you can see what that function is going to be, is sparkline. If you just entered equals sparkline and then the cells there, and then you closed that up and you omitted the chart type and all that stuff, it would just use the default setting. It would still put a little sparkline there, but in this case I actually made it slightly different. Down here I also changed the color of the sparkline. You can see, and if you want to change this as well, you can. Click in cell A10. Maybe you want to change the color. See what it looks like if you change it to green. See that? Yeah, so basically what I've done here, this is tracking how many points a team has scored, moving from week 1 to week 10. And without even looking at the numbers, you can look at this little graph and see, okay, it looked like we started out slow, did really well, then we hit something where we weren't scoring points, and then that trend started back up again. All right, so that's helpful, okay? Okay, I think, wow, 4:32. That is everything that I wanted to cover today. You'll notice on the document I created, I do have some other links down there to some useful add-ons, SheetGo, AutoCrat, and Power Tools. Those are ones that I've used in the past that are pretty handy. You should check them out if you get a chance. Okay? Well, we've covered a lot today. I hope you gained at least one thing today that you didn't know before. All right? Again, this has been recorded, so if you want to reference any of this stuff or go back and review it, I'll be posting it within the next couple of days. Okay? Y'all, thank you for coming. I appreciate y'all being here. Okay? That's all I've got. All right, you're free to go. I'm going to stick around for a minute or two if y'all have any questions, okay? You're welcome.